It was a difficult loss this last week. I think congratulations to Texas State. I felt like we were in pretty good control of the game for 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter got away from us. And some of it, the offense, I think, kind of wore down, taking 85 snaps, and our second team's got to come along here so that we feel comfortable in playing some of those guys during the course of the game. That's not happened through the course of the season. And then defensively, we just lost some discipline. We gave up 300 yards there in the second half, and against an option attack like Texas State, that gets really difficult. Obviously, walking into a game this week that has some difficulties in terms of Texas A&M, and I think they're a top 10 team that's been unfortunate to play 3 other top 5 schools in 3 weeks in a row. They've had an off date, and I'm sure they're excited about getting back out on the field.
Thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Randy with the Sunbelt Digital Network. Randy, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. How you doing this morning?
Okay, Randy.
Just want to ask you about the final stretch of the season. Obviously you got Texas A&M coming up this week, but the final stretch of the Sunbelt games are, App State, UL Lafayette, New Mexico State, and Georgia Southern. Have you talked to your team about kind of resetting for, your final stretch of the Sunbelt Conference schedule?
Well, yeah, I did during the open week, and that's generally when I tend to do it. And I quite honestly, I wish I hadn't now. I think that we just need to concentrate on the very next ball game. I think that that's kind of what we've always done around here, is just try to be 1-0 during that week. And, I think that the standings tend to kind of take care of themselves if you just take care of the next week, and looking forward too much, I think, is a trap.
What are some of the things you're looking to work on against Texas A&M this weekend?
I'll try and find a way to win a game. I like the direction that we're headed on offense in relation to kind of we're growing up, and that's kind of what I expected. I think we played probably our best half, both sides of the football, actually, in the first half against Texas State. I thought we were really playing well. And there are some encouraging things, even though we've got to get better in the red zone offensively, and that's kind of comes back to you've either got to be able to control the line of scrimmage, or you have to have a mobile quarterback and a guy that you're willing to run down there. And I don't know if that's a perfect fit for our quarterback currently, and we're having a tough time on the line of scrimmage, and so thusly it's hard for us to get down the red zone and score that way. And defensively, I'd like to see us be a little bit more disciplined in the second half. The last 3 ball games we've really hurt ourselves in the second half, and we're playing quite a few guys on defense. I'd just like to see us tackle better and be a little bit more disciplined.
Just want to ask you one more quick question. Centarius Donald, he played against Texas State. His last game was against A-State. What was his impact of being in the game, as opposed to the games he missed?
Well, I think that what Centarius brings is a really, really physical runner, but I think the other thing that Centarius brings is he's a really emotional leader for us. He's a guy that he gets excited. You want all your players to get excited, but his is a vocal, outspoken, get energized, and I think we kind of missed that a little bit against Kentucky the week before, whenever, him not being able to play in that game, I think created we didn't have that energy as much as what I would have liked to have seen. I think that's what he brings to the table, not just his play, but his leadership.
All right, thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you, Randy. Our next questions come from Matt with the Jonesboro Sun. Matt, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach Berry. How are you this morning?
I'm okay, Matt. Thanks.
Hey, I had a question. Just obviously you're playing your 3rd SEC opponent this weekend. You kind of feel like he should be an honorary member of the SEC after this schedule?
Yeah, I jokingly have said over the last several years that based off how many SEC schools that we've played, and they've all tended to be the ones that pay the most money, which are generally the ones that are the highest ranked teams, that we should get some kind of honorary SEC membership, because we've certainly seen them all. I even get national calls from people asking me to compare and contrast different SEC programs, since I tend to play them all and maybe can be a little bit more outspoken than the SEC coaches can. But we're always going to play these type of universities here, obviously from a financial standpoint, and so consequently we're getting another good look at, I think, a really good Texas A&M team. I think this is a really good football team that ran into Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Alabama. And I challenge anybody across the country to line up against those three universities and say that you're going to come out of it unscathed, and they didn't. But they've had a week off and a chance to kind of recollect themselves, and I'm sure that they're really wanting to come out and make a statement.
Does a non-conference schedule like this, does it have a long-term or even a short-term impact as far as difficulty? Is it tough on your team?
Sure. Yeah, obviously, I think it's twofold. Obviously, it's difficult competition, and consequently, because of that, you have to be in our conferences like that too. You got to play really, really well every week to win in our conference, and I think every conference coach would tell you that. And trying to stay on that emotional high every week, that is more of a grind than whenever you've got it split up, where you've got maybe some games in there that are a little bit easier. And then the second part of that, I think, and this is probably where I'm at with our offense right now in relation to the twos, is our second offensive group really hasn't had a chance to really play that much because all the games have been in limbo, and you were always afraid to put a guy in not knowing exactly what he was going to do in relation to what that one was going to do. And so consequently, your depth gets hurt by it also because you're not getting to play those other guys as much as what you would like to if you had maybe a tune-up game earlier in the season to where you felt like, okay, I've really got an opportunity to get this guy some exposure and see how he's going to perform rather than kind of guessing how he's going to perform. And so, it makes it more difficult.
All right. Thank you very much.
You bet.